All right, man, peace. So, a couple of weeks ago, Jennifer Lawrence, a famous Black American actress, as you know her, you might know her for a couple of movies. I think someone had referred her to the mom of Hollywood. And, I think that she's a relatively good actress. In my opinion, I believe she's theatric on and off camera. So anytime I hear her speak, it's always like she does these monologues and do all these different things. And she comes from a place of wisdom, even though sometimes I believe that she can say some shit that just doesn't make any sense, that follows around the woke leftist train. But it's sometimes enjoyable to hear certain people have their perspectives on different things, politics, and all these different things. So, the reason for this video today is to kind of get into the mode and get into the skeptic of social division that's happened primarily after this campaign, during the campaign, and before the campaign or the election. It being election year, ending off the series that I've done, and collecting the whole entire thing about a series I may call post-election year, which is going to give my conclusion to what is it that I think about the American citizens and them acting completely ridiculous when it comes to who you vote for, to the point that they want to cause divisions amongst family members for not voting for a particular candidate, and the grappling hold that so-called Black Americans have towards each other when they say that you should vote for such and such person. And when you don't, you're going to be referred to a lot of late slavery terms in order to gaslight you and to put you down for not wanting to be on the same type of time that they are on. So let's peep this video. I'm gonna make some commentary along the way about this couple of week old video with Jennifer Lewis, and we're gonna have a conversation about it. So Pete.
I tell them, love yourself so that love will not be a stranger when it comes. I tell them what I know. I tell them to sit still and listen. When you break your body like I did in the Serengeti.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know how to find my person. I did not know.
When a lion roars in your ear, that loud enough for you, Jennifer? You think you're going to retire and go sit down, drink red wine, smoke cigarettes, and get a high? Is that what you think you're going to do, Jennifer? When I've molded you for 65 years? I'll tell you one thing, Stephen, after the fall, I don't do nothing no more, and my life is of service. Service. What can I do? Where can I go? And who can I help? But I tell people, you take care of yourself first so that your arms are strong when the people you love fall.
I'm not gonna lie. Hearing this video right now, Jennifer Lewis is saying some deep shit. At the end of the day, regardless of the times that happen in your life, the only thing is matters is about getting up and making sure that you love yourself more, pour more into yourself. And too many people in this world is following around places where they feel like they have to give up their self for somebody who's not doing them well, and giving themselves for situations that's not doing them well, and going back and forth with themselves because they don't feel great about themselves. A whole key component to life is making sure you're getting on your highest level as the person you want to be. Getting to your highest level on the peak of the mountaintop symbolically.
Yes, I didn't know how not to come back. I didn't know how not to come back from that injury because the me I had made before I fell got me up. I woke up one night, Stephen, and I was in so much pain because I got off the pain medication. I said, if I can feel it, I can fix it. Let me feel it, because that pain medication shit is a lie. Those opioids, morphine, that's a lie. Morphine's temporary. Oxycodone lies to you and tells you there's no pain. No, baby, let me feel the pain, because it ain't nothing but pain. You ain't gonna die from pain. You see. So I tell them what I know. Why shouldn't I? I got everything I wanted, you know. I always say, I always say, baby, I conquered a dream. And I'm rich, bitch, but don't ask me for no money. You gotta love me. You gotta love me,
I
Steve. You gotta love me.
Excuse me, I loved you before I was talking to you. You understand what I'm saying? I've loved you for years. You ain't got to worry about that. The love is going to always be here from me to you. I know who I'm talking to. I got to ask you a sensitive question, though. With all of this positivity that you ooze, particularly
Y'all better prepare for this shit because it's about to switch around when it comes to this language.
emanating from your experiences, how are you feeling when Kamala Harris lost the election?
Well,
I imagine you were, I was told you were a big supporter of hers.
huge, huge, huge. If only to stop that thing from doing whatever he's planning to do. But I got to tell you something. I told the kids, and still I rise. We know how to fight. It's not new to us. And when I say us, I'm talking about the world. Because here's a song I wrote. We gonna be all right if we stand as the people. We're gonna be all right if we trust with the people. We're gonna be all right if we rise as one people. And I believed that Kamala Harris would have done that. This
Complete bullshit, but that's just my opinion on it. And let me say this for the record. This is what I couldn't stand about messages from Jennifer Lewis and certain people like her that feel like just because a president got selected, not elected, that this now goes into a whole thing about we gonna be all right, we can make it through the storm, which is a video I probably did or made a commentary on about how it's so sickening that people start to use their emotions, not logic, and start to think that just because a president is selected, that the whole world has gone mad. If you like it, whether you like it or not, they're gonna select who the hell they want to select, right? Secondly, as I always say, there's bigger fish to fry in this world. And understanding that we are in the last days. And a lot of people say, oh, Bronzebird, why are you saying we in the last days? That's not true. That's not true. Take it however you want to take it. The signs is on the fucking wall, in the sky. Everywhere you look, it's starting to give those type of messages in stages of where we're at as individuals. And understanding the foreshadowing, the programming, the whole entire thing, all of this stuff is being prepped up for the grand finale of what we call life on this earth, or whatever you want to see it. Now, that's extreme, but at the end of the day, a lot of people are having that inevitable feeling that we are in the last days. So take it as you may. But crying and doing this whole entire hotel, getting into this whole entire thing about, you know, life is going to be life and we going to be all right and we going to make it through the storm. Shit didn't change when Trump was president the first time. You wasn't crying out and sitting up there saying it's the end of the world then. But life still moved on. When Biden became president and we had the whole entire thing with CV, what was the whole entire thing then? Did people feel like it was the end of the world then? Or did people carry on with their lives with restrictions during that time? What would have made the difference? I'm just saying.
thing is divisive, cruel, and evil, insane, narcissistic, and he's a sociopath. But honey, we are the people. And we're not going to allow this dictatorship. I told everybody you can be scared, but we must be unafraid. Now, how do you fight? You go to your city council meetings. You go to your zoning meetings. And you'll know who's raising your rent. Educate yourself.
Which I definitely agree with. A lot of people don't like having this conversation. This has been a narrative that's been driven by so-called black people who get it, that's around me, and which I always say, you have to care about what's in your community first. You can make a big deal about the president you want to vote for, but what do you do in your communities to make a difference? If you don't do shit in your communities to make a difference, why in the fuck would you care about what president is being elected or selected? That's it, and that's all. See, the problem is that I've witnessed in the neighborhoods that I lived in growing up is that a lot of people want to do things when things is already rolled in. The secret to everything is finances, economics, where people are complaining, especially New York City, as such as the whole thing about gentrification. They start seeing white people in their neighborhood and they want to make a big fit because rolling back prices and if real estate is starting to become crazy and people can't live in their apartments no more and stuff like that. But when did you start going to the organization to list these problems if you knew it was a problem in your neighborhood? Why didn't you tell them that they're not allowed to build such and such property on this and stuff like that? And it's not about just gentrification. I don't want to make that a whole entire thing about why I'm saying this. But too many people ignore the issues that's in their own communities, but then want to get mad if certain people vote for a certain person. The president, the president is not the one that makes the final decision. I always say this. It's the Senate. It's the councilmen. It's the people that's in the cabinet that's making these decisions. They're just letting the president sign off on it. So if you want anybody to be mad at the council, be mad at the Senate, be mad at the people that's in the office, even currently today, who make the decisions about, the spending bill, such as that adding on into inflation and all these different things. Be mad about them. Why? I bet you no one can pretty much name certain politicians that exist in their neighborhood, but got the nerve to get mad at certain people for the choices they make about what president they want to vote for. It's craziness.
Because you're losing your rights. And I'm talking to the Gen Zs and the millennials now. You ain't going to have no pension if you don't fight. You ain't going to have Social Security or health care if you don't fight. So learn how to fight. Listen to smart people. Listen to Steve. Listen to Stacey Abrams. Listen to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and Maxine Waters. Listen to them. Listen to who knows what roads to take now. Because this Republican Party ain't playing.
Let me ask you this.
What about
what they've said in terms of black, particularly black men and Latinos, supported him more than they have in the past? Why do you think that is? And what do you have to say to black men and Latinos who were not in favor of supporting Kamala Harris?
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. When your favorite niece and your 13-year-old daughter is raped by your alcoholic brother or the next door neighbor, and she tries to abort that baby inside of her from a rape, you're going to regret that. They want to keep women in their place. It's so disgusting. I can't even put words to them voting for her. They didn't vote for her, didn't vote because she was a woman. They didn't care that she was smart and powerful, educated, beautiful, kind, joyful, fearless. She would have taken.
Bullshit. And as I've always been saying to the people that always disagree with me and was trying to tell me I'm a Trump supporter, the reason why Kamala Harris wasn't supported by black men and supported by numerous of people is because she fucked up her own campaign. And ironically, you start to find out that when it came to the members that was involved in the campaign, a large majority wasn't even black. That's the funny thing about it. So they had, they barely had any Indians that was involved in that campaign. They had a bunch of white women that didn't surprise me. And besides going into who was involved in that campaign, it was the same shit that was been said all the time. If you was in office for 3.5 years, you understand that inflation happened. We had to get out of this whole entire CV mess. And then it was talking about what have you done in the last 3 years and about the whole entire thing about the border crisis. That's the main issue even so-called black men have raised about why they don't want to vote for Kamala Harris as president. It had nothing to do with her being a woman. Well, let me rephrase that. Most of the time, if you ask so-called black men or certain people, they didn't bring up the idea about gender. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have supported someone like Tulsi Gabbard back in 2020, and she was a woman who cares about America, who fought for America in war. And then so-called black men who got upset about the whole marijuana charges about her being a DA in San Francisco or the Bay. So to really use emotional porn, such as talking about a woman being sexually assaulted, I'm not going to say the word, being sexually assaulted, you remember that. All his gaslighting techniques that never fail about the so-called black woman raising her mother goddess archetype over the so-called black man to keep the black man in line. Anytime there's a free-thinking black man, it raises a question, and he is seen as a threat to the so-called black community because everybody knows the so-called black community proliferates the woman before they proliferate the man. It's just facts here in America.
Taken care of this country. She would have protected the people. She would have surrounded herself with great minds. But keeping women in their place was more important to them. And black men, that was just shocking because, honey, he's going to give the military and the police permission to shoot you in your back, and there will be no immunity. So, baby, y'all done fucked up. You took every right from your children. Once again, there will be no.
And this is an unpopular opinion, and people can disagree with me if they want to. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to stand on it. If Kamala Harris would have got it, if Kamala Harris would have got elected, selected, right? What would have happened is that your First Amendment would have been tested, therefore. Because anytime you try to look up research or you try to speak on Kamala Harris's past history, it was deleted. It was, files went missing and all these different things. So I would have guessed that if Kamala Harris would have won this election, the First Amendment would have been tested just to protect her own ass and to make sure that she's not in hot water for the things that she said and the things that she has done within her tenure of being a politician in America. Just my opinion.
Social security and pensions and rights. This thing has said you will never have to vote again. He's going to be in charge of the military. We have fucked up. End of story.
You don't think it was a simple situation of looking at the economy, looking at inflation, looking at crime and saying, excuse me, providing and protect. And as men, that's what we want. And as a result of that, I mean, I voted for her. I wasn't voting for him. But speaking to men who felt differently, they didn't think about Roe v. Wade. They didn't think about stuff. They thought about the economy, money in their pockets, and safety in the streets.
Which is a good thing. Why wouldn't you want to think about the economy when it comes to upper mobility for yourself to get where you want to as a man in America? Why the fuck would I give a fuck about certain things when everything that has been told has nothing to do with how we need to uplift ourselves in America? I'm just being honest. And you have a conversation with Black Americans, the only thing they can ever say out their mouth is, you are a COON, aka a coon. You are this, you are that. And the whole entire time you hear people who support Kamala Harris, like Obama sitting up there saying, you thinking about sitting out this election, Pookie? And all this fuck shit that had nothing to do with why Black American men in particular did not want to vote for Kamala Harris. And my thing about it is, I say it and I say it again. Donald Trump is no better. I was never a Donald Trump supporter. That it was just about the thing about what mattered to America, and especially about the whole entire thing when it came to inflation. So it made perfect sense. If you're spending your time as an election and you going on campaign, sitting up there talking about women shaking their ass and talking about baby deletion rights and all these different things, what about the economy? Certain plans that she had in place made no sense. That's all I'm going to tell you. It made no sense.
Listen,
It couldn't have been as simple as that?
First of all, do you see women breaking in people's houses? Do you
No,
see
no.
women shooting each other in the streets?
They do.
They voted because they voted for Trump because, oh, I hate saying his name. They voted for him because they hate themselves. And they
Gaslighting 101 techniques. I'll tell you.
see this thing as powerful, that he's going to move mountains for them and make them rich. And unfortunately, black men, they want a man. They were saying, I'm voting for the man. Well, we're going to see about that. And don't think we're all not at fault. All of us. We went to our jobs, we came home and sat on the sofa and watched movies of destruction. Superman, Batman, the end of this, Armageddon.
Just to give them a little quick idea about it, but to review that video, of course, there were certain things that Jennifer Lewis said that I agree with, but it all adds up to the fact of this whole entire obligation that if so-called black people stand on their square and say, I don't want to even think about this, in which I started to see a difference and a shift with how so-called black people think, such as so that they started to say, hey, look, listen, I don't want to vote for Kamala Harris because she will not do this and she will not do that. And this is a couple of week old video, but I wanted to get to the point about the shift that's been happening, not just recently, that's been happening since about maybe 2015, 2016, where you see this social divide between people based on what presidents they want to vote for. And it's very iconic because I didn't see this during the Obama era. I didn't see this during the George Bush era. I didn't see this during the Bill Clinton era, and so on and so forth. But just understanding the bait and the switches that they provide, especially when they wanted to go ahead and target Black American men about who they're voting for, they went ahead and they wanted to try every trick out the book to shame men, to shame women that wanted to vote for Trump, and try to say that they're a disgrace to the country, even using racial undertones as a way to keep people in line and keep people in check. This election, in particular, post-election, making it all about gender and saying that a woman is not suited to be in the White House, which in some factions, certain people that I talked to had very opinionated opinions that made a lot of sense on why a woman should not be president. But that's here nor there. Let's move to the next video about Bill Maher, who is making an opinion. You gave a very great insight to what is it that I believe that I find utterly ridiculous amongst American citizens now that the election is over, and about how families is being divided, even taken to social media such as TikTok, which is going to be banned in January, about how they don't want to have conversations with certain family members because people voted for Trump. And it's not about me saying that I'm a Trump advocate. It's just the factor of the ridiculousness that they will pull amongst people that don't have the same mindset as them. Completely frivolous, childish, and more so autocratic, and trying to say that by having Trump in office is a dictatorship, but by your own words and by your own actions, you're being a dictator. So let's check it out.
Christmas is the ideal time to set aside our differences, come together, and spend time with the people we care most about, though not everyone feels that way.
If you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why. To say, I have a problem with the way that you voted. I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
And think about that for 1 second, what this dumb broad just said. So you really think that it's okay to exclude family members that you was cool with just because you don't believe that they should vote for such and such person? How ridiculous is that?
To say, I have a problem with the way that you voted. I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me.
That's a Yale psychiatrist, ladies and gentlemen. A new survey from the Public Religion Research Institute shows Democrats are about 5 times more likely than Republicans to ditch their family members because of their political views, especially during the holidays. Joining me now is probably.
And my thing about it is, as much as I don't want to talk about which party is doing wrong and which party is more, has more of a dictatorship, autocratic type of field, what I started to notice in these recent elections, especially from 2020, not just talking about this recent election that happened, is that you have a lot of Democrats that basically showed their ass and basically tried to go against people who weren't necessarily Republicans, but realized there was a light at the end of this tunnel and that they started to have a difference of opinion and say, well, because you voted for that person, I don't want you near me and I don't want to talk to you. Why does the emotional field need to come into this if we're just talking about politics and we're talking about a president off of a simple opinion about a vote? Who's the real dictators in this shit? Think about that.
Probably the most qualified person in the United States to talk about this topic, Republican strategist, a.k.a. Mrs. James Carville, my pal, Mary Madeline. Hey, Mary, give me your thoughts on this. People allowing ideology to intrude on family unity.
I can't. I mean, Raymond, come on. I mean, it's part of the larger problem, and which is why I don't do TV anymore. And I'm not a Republican strategist. Never was a strategist. I was a utility player, and I may become a Republican again. I'm so happy with what's being talked about and discussed. We want to see some outcomes and results. But politics is not a religion. It's like a cult. I bet those people who are saying you should avoid your family at holidays over politics don't have families. And if they do, they must be extremely dysfunctional. We have to get through, listen, I came from a loud family. I married into a loud family. I created a loud family. We have 1,000 things to shout about. Everybody in the family disagrees with me, but we don't fight about politics. How does that?
No.
Brett.
And it was so bad. I'm not just talking about this post-election. I'm also talking about the fact of the matter that I've seen articles way back when Trump ran for president the first time. And what happened is that I seen a story about how a woman divorced her husband just because he wanted to vote for Trump. It's crazy.
In circuses, people have really lost their way, but I think they're going to have to figure out their problem is politics is a poor substitute for faith, for a belief system, for your heart, for the love that you need to express to your family and your community and your church. Or it's just love. I mean, I don't understand.
Imagine that. Imagine you haven't spoke to your cousin in 3 or 4 years, right? You haven't spoke to your cousin in the last 4 to 5 years. You'd be like, oh, how come? What's up with your cousin? It's like, we don't speak no more. Why? What happened? Yo, he voted for Trump. People gonna be scratching their head like, what? So you don't want to talk to your cousin anymore because of who you voted for? It's ridiculous.
Understand these people. And I don't have to understand
Mary, I want to
them,
show this.
But I would not be mean to them if they came to my house for holidays.
No. And you're not. You're gracious to everybody. And I mean, this is a woman, by the way, who's hosted Bill Clinton and everybody in between. Mary, here's Bill Maher on this exact issue of separating families over politics. Watch.
Way back when, a guy who crossed lines politically. Ooh, the worst thing you could ever do, be friends with a Republican? Call 911. This is what I hate about the left. Just the idea that, cut your family off for Thanksgiving if they voted for the wrong guy. Well, off, you.
Mary, tell me how you do it. I mean,
in which I agree. He has not said anything wrong. The Democrats or people who might be in the Democratic field or have an all-out fallout because the president-elect that they wanted to vote for, the president candidate that they wanted to vote for, didn't get voted for. And now you start to see them do tours about, keep hope alive type shit, or try to be on this whole entire level of talking about don't give up, believe in what you want to believe in, these post speeches that's really talking about how much they failed in their campaign and they basically are crying about it and they got in their fifis. So then that being brought into the average American citizen who might be Democratic leaning, left leaning, and all these different things, for them to have fights with regular everyday people who don't have the same motives, who don't have the same type of language or have the same type of ideals or ideas, and then sit up there saying you're canceled. So the thing about it is, you realize is the left or liberals have always been a problem in this country. Not having a free range of thought, having a whole entire conservative view that's very poisonous to the average American citizen, and then blaming people for not being on the same agendas or the same type of thought process they're on. Very low level leaning thinking.
I mean, you and James could not be more at odds politically. How do you come together, especially at Christmas? Let's say after an election like this. Will this even be a topic in the Carville household?
Raymond, you have been at our house. He says hello, by the way, and he says hello. He goes, he's that guy with the beautiful wife. The beautiful wife. She's flawless. That woman is flawless. Well, because, look at, we live in New Orleans. We talk about faith and food and football, and there's music. I mean, that's the last conversation anybody wants to have. But I tell you, we do talk about politics, and we're going to be talking a lot about politics in New Orleans. I'm a Federalist. I think that people work best closest to the ground in this kind of environment. And this mayoral contest we have coming up next year, Raymond, you're in. We're dragging you down here. You're going to cover that like white on rice. Okay, that's the kind of politics we talk about when we can be productive. This politics, also, perhaps you haven't noticed that my husband was a little broke with loke or broke with woke or whatever. Yes. And I can't even talk, you know, who wants to talk about.
And that's basically it for this video. But even to the factor of taking this whole entire dictatorship into Christmas, when this is supposed to be a day, and then those who understand on this channel that Christmas isn't Christmas, it's the celebration of Saturnalia, the dead of winter, New Year's being in the dead of winter, when we know the real New Year's or the regrouping of life, or when life starts during the spring solstice. But that's a conversation for another day. And understanding this, that people have completely lost their minds, lost their marbles, are completely out here acting like cult leaders and cult followers because of who you vote for. Who gives a shit? Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy whatever it is to be around family, friends, and all that other stuff. Who cares who you vote for? But of course, if you're a hardcore Democrat, or a hardcore person who has a certain way of thinking, a singular way of thinking, you're going to always think that the person next to you that doesn't share the same views is an enemy. You're an idiot by that standard. So if you like what you heard, if you want to comment, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Peace.